So, um, imagine walking into a packed room, like maybe a massive corporate mixer or a really large family reunion.
Oh, I know those kinds of rooms.
Yeah, exactly. And you look around and you slowly start to realize that absolutely everyone in there is like reading from a hidden script.
Wow. Okay. That's a creepy visual.
Right. They're laughing at the exact right moments, they're politely nodding at ideas they clearly disagree with, and they are just skillfully steering clear of anything remotely controversial.
Like they're all just perfectly programmed.
Exactly. Then someone walks up and hands you a copy of that exact same script, and the pressure in the room is just palpable. So, do you read your lines just to blend in and survive the evening?
Or do you cause a scene?
Yeah, do you take that script and just rip it into pieces right there in front of everybody, fully aware that will probably, escort you out of the building?
Well, I mean, the tension between wanting to belong to a tribe and wanting to exist as an authentic individual it's perhaps the most fundamental human dilemma.
For sure. It's a constant balancing act.
Right, because we are biologically wired to seek community for survival, yet psychologically driven to express our unique identity. Usually we just navigate that friction by finding a comfortable middle ground.
We compromise.
Yeah, we compromise parts of ourselves to keep the peace.
Well, today we are tossing that entire concept of compromise completely out the window. So welcome to our latest deep dive.
We've got a wild one today.
We really do. We were exploring a radically unfiltered, take no prisoners definition of what it means to possess true freedom. And our source material today is incredibly raw.
That's putting it mildly.
Seriously.
Yeah.
The primary source is this passionate, entirely unscripted, and honestly heavily explicit monologue from a YouTube creator named Tomcat.
It's intense to listen to.
It is. It's from a playlist on his channel, Tomcat's World, called The Cat's Contentions. And this specific piece is titled Episode 10, True Freedom.
And alongside Tomcat's own broadcast, we are examining a secondary source, too. It's a very brief but highly revealing character portrait written by a close friend of his.
The guy who goes by the name Sharkbait, right?
Yeah, Sharkbait. And this portrait gives us a crucial outside glimpse into the actual man operating behind the microphone. It really helps us determine, where the persona ends and the actual person begins.
Which is so needed here.
Exactly.
So our mission for you on this deep dive is to dissect Tomcat's extreme philosophy on personal autonomy.
We're going to dig deep into his ideas.
Exactly. We are going to explore his fierce critique of modern social media culture and really examine the heavy real-world costs of living with absolute, uncompromising authenticity, both socially and financially.
Because there's definitely a cost.
Oh, massive costs. Okay, let's unpack this. What exactly does Tomcat mean by true freedom? Because looking through the material, he's clearly not talking about geopolitical freedom or economic liberty here.
No, not at all. He is defining freedom as psychological and social autonomy in its absolute, purest, most abrasive form.
So it's an internal thing.
Right. For Tomcat, true freedom operates on a strict binary. Like you either possess it entirely or you are entirely without it.
There's no middle ground with him.
None. He explicitly states that if you ever have to stop and question whether or not you are free, that hesitation alone is proof that you aren't.
Wow. Just the hesitation.
Yeah. True freedom, in his framework, is the ability to say what you genuinely believe and do what you feel compelled to do with zero regard for the repercussions.
Or the opinions of anyone else in society.
Exactly.
I mean, he goes so far as to argue that the vast majority of people are essentially operating as slaves.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses that specific word intentionally, right?
Oh, absolutely. He wants to shock the listener.
Yeah, he argues that people technically have the illusion of free will. They can choose what to wear, what to say, where to work.
That he thinks it's all fake.
Right. He says they blindly surrender that autonomy to groupthink and a herd mentality. Like they put themselves in chains because they're absolutely terrified of being judged by the collective.
And he frames that fear of public judgment as deeply irrational when you stretch it out over a long enough timeline.
The timeline thing is fascinating.
It really is. Tomcat points out that humans are, in his exact words, fickle creatures. We suffer from incredibly short attention spans.
So true. We move on so fast.
Right. So if you step out of line and do something outside the societal norm, the herd might judge you. They might clown on you or cancel you in the moment.
Sure, you get the backlash.
But his argument is that 10 minutes later, their attention span resets. They move on to the next target, and the crosshairs shift to someone else.
And he takes that timeline even further into the future, which introduces this fascinating layer of, existentialism to his argument.
Yeah, the 50-year rule.
Exactly. He points out that we take our daily lives so incredibly seriously, but in 50 years, almost everyone currently worrying about their reputation is going to be dead, buried, and completely forgotten.
It's a bit grim, but he makes a point.
It is grim, but his point is that storing up anxiety over the judgment of people who ultimately won't remember you and who you won't even remember is just a massive squandering of a very short life.
It's a stark brand of existential nihilism, really. But he harnesses it as an engine for personal empowerment.
Like using the void for motivation.
Yeah, exactly. If the slate is wiped clean in 50 years, allowing a stranger's fleeting opinion to dictate how you express yourself on a Tuesday is just illogical to him.
And to visualize this dynamic, Tomcat uses the analogy of a puppet and a puppeteer. He argues that the moment you stifle what you are actually thinking or feeling simply to meet an external expectation, you are willingly handing over the strings.
You're letting them control you.
Right, you're letting someone else physically animate your behavior.
Yeah.
But looking at this critically, I have to push back on his premise a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want to introduce a different analogy here for you listening. Think of societal norms not as puppet strings, but as the traffic lights in a busy city.
Oh, I like that.
Thanks. Like, if everyone completely disregards all the red lights and just drives wherever they want, whenever they want, just to express their true freedom, the whole system collapses.
It would be total gridlock.
Exactly. So my question is a complete, absolute disregard for all repercussions actually a viable way to live within a community? Or does it just guarantee total social chaos?
I mean, that is the inevitable counter-argument to absolute autonomy. If everyone acted solely on impulse without a filter, communities would absolutely fracture.
Right, we tear each other apart.
But if we dig deeper into Tomcat's logic, his philosophy isn't necessarily a call to instigate chaos just for the thrill of anarchy.
It's not just about being destructive.
No, it's fundamentally an argument about reclaiming lost time. Tomcat asserts that by constantly trying to conform, by going along just to get along with people who ultimately do not care about your well-being, you are actively robbing yourself.
You're stealing your own life.
Yes, you are cheating yourself out of days, weeks, months, and hours of your own finite existence.
Wow. That makes me think of a highly relatable, everyday scenario. Imagine sitting in a bloated corporate meeting, right?
We've all been there.
Oh, definitely. And someone proposes a strategy that, deep down is entirely flawed. But you look around the room, you see everyone else nodding, and you calculate that speaking up will jeopardize your standing or maybe your end-of-year bonus.
So you just keep your mouth shut?
Yeah, you swallow your true thoughts, you nod along. Well, Tomcat would argue that in that specific moment, you aren't just being polite. You are committing a form of slow suicide.
That's a heavy way to look at it.
It's super heavy. You are killing off a piece of your own identity to appease a room full of people who honestly wouldn't notice if you quit tomorrow.
And that slow suicide is exactly what he's targeting. In his view, prioritizing the collective's comfort over your own authentic reality is an extreme betrayal of the self.
You're betraying yourself before anyone else can.
Right. And while his approach sounds like a recipe for external social chaos, to him, it is the only logical method to prevent the internal psychological chaos of living a lie.
That makes a lot of sense. You are prioritizing your own internal good graces over the good graces of a fickle crowd. And, that internal friction transitions us perfectly to his biggest, most glaring target in this entire deep dive.
Oh yeah, here we go.
If we are analyzing the modern mechanisms of invisible strings, herd mentality, and living a curated lie to appease a crowd, we have to look at his critique of social media. Tomcat takes an absolute sledgehammer to the heavily corporate, sanitized world of modern online influencers.
He really does. The modern digital landscape is, for Tomcat, the ultimate manifestation of the groupthink he totally despises.
It's the puppet theater on steroids.
Yeah, it is the puppet theater scaled up to a global, algorithmic level.
He actually compares the current consumer base to the movie Wayne's World.
Which is such a specific, funny reference.
It is. And for anyone unfamiliar with it, that movie satirizes the shift from raw, authentic basement broadcasting to this sanitized, heavily sponsored corporate content. Tomcat argues we're just being force-fed this cookie-cutter programming online now.
Everything looks exactly the same.
Right. He describes how creators aggressively manufacture a fake image of their best life. They use ring lights and perfectly edited jump cuts to slice out every stutter, every flaw, and every moment of human hesitation.
They polish away all the humanity.
Exactly. They chop up their own reality until they are just Hundreds of thousands of clones making the exact same video, just with different faces, all desperate to look hot and wealthy.
And he draws a sharp, very intentional contrast between that highly manufactured aesthetic and his own gritty, creative process.
He is definitely not using ring lights.
No, not at all. Tomcat actively refuses to script his videos. He refuses to edit out his stumbles or his mistakes.
He just leaves it all in.
Yeah, he actually boasts about the fact that his brain works slower than his mouth, and rather than hiding that through editing magic, he embraces the raw reality of it.
He talks about getting his ideas in the most mundane moments, right? Like while he's taking a piss.
And scribbling them down and immediately hitting record.
Life and experience is my research, he says. No teleprompters, no focus groups. Just a guy venting his unvarnished thoughts into a microphone.
But he doesn't just stop at mocking the aesthetics of polished creators. He viciously calls out the financial compromises they make.
Oh, he goes hard on the money aspect.
He eviscerates YouTubers who self-censor, who bleep out their own curse words, or who consciously soften their edge specifically to appease AdSense, maintain their monetization, or attract corporate sponsors.
Right, he even throws a direct jab at the corporate leadership, specifically referencing Susan, the previous CEO of YouTube. He views the executive suite as the architects of this whole conformity machine.
And to understand why he is so incredibly angry about this, we have to look at the actual mechanism of platform monetization.
The algorithms.
Right. Algorithms and advertisers demand brand safety. If a creator discusses controversial topics or uses heady profanity, the platform system automatically flags them, demonetizes the video, or suppresses it in the algorithm.
Which is a practice known as shadow banning.
Exactly. So by bleeping their words, creators are altering their actual vocabulary just to secure a paycheck.
And Tomcat views this adherence to advertiser-friendly terms of service as the ultimate spiritual betrayal. He claims that if you are changing the words coming out of your mouth for a check, your soul is for hire.
You are allowing a corporation to literally purchase your personality.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Let's expand on that concept of the corporate machine, though, because Tomcat's deep cynicism of institutions isn't just limited to tech companies. He points that exact same criticism toward the government.
He really goes after the whole system.
Yeah, and looking purely at his arguments in the source material, he claims neither side of the political aisle, not Republicans, not Democrats, actually cares about the individual.
He says they're all the same.
Right. He points to years of having both parties rotate through office as proof that the system fundamentally fails the everyday person, leading him to the explicit conclusion that voting doesn't work.
Now, to be absolutely clear to you listening, we are impartially reporting his political stance here.
Yes, exactly. We're not taking sides or endorsing his views at all. We're just conveying his ideas to illustrate the sheer scale of his worldview.
Right, as impartial observers. Because for Tomcat, political parties operate exactly like those tech platforms. They are massive institutions demanding your strict conformity to their team while offering nothing of genuine value to your authentic self.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of his philosophy, the medium truly is the message. Accepting any external control over your voice, whether from a Silicon Valley algorithm or a political party line, negates the entire concept of true freedom.
Because remember, he views freedom as an uncompromising binary. If you compromise even 1% of your authenticity to fit into an algorithm or a voting block, you are no longer 100% free.
It's all or nothing.
He described a symbiotic line that society expects everyone to walk. You feed the machine your sanitized, predictable compliance, and the machine feeds you a paycheck or a sense of social belonging.
And he basically demands that you step completely off that line. But I have to ask, isn't conforming to a platform's terms of service or toning down your language at work just a basic survival tactic in the modern world?
It's a fair question.
Right. If a creator is trying to pay rent, feed their family, and build a sustainable living in a digital economy, is it really a malicious selling out of their soul? Or is it just a pragmatic necessity?
You're saying we all have to play the game on some level just to survive?
Exactly, don't we?
Well, Tomcat isn't naive about the harsh realities of what he is demanding. He is painfully aware of the severe consequences of living with total authenticity.
He knows what happens.
He does. He lists them out explicitly. He says if you refuse to play the game, you will be ostracized, alienated, sued, doxxed, demonetized, or, in his somewhat mocking phrasing, put into a naughty corner.
He acknowledges the incredibly high price of freedom.
Yes. However, His counterargument is that the hidden price of conformity, like losing your soul, erasing your identity, and living a completely fake life just to pay the bills, is a far more devastating tax on your existence.
And that brings us to a crucial pivot point in the source material. Because we have spent this entire deep dive analyzing a guy who sounds incredibly aggressive, deeply cynical, and almost proudly abrasive.
He's not exactly warm and fuzzy.
No, he throws around expletives constantly. He aggressively tells people who care about social norms to go deal with it themselves. And he rejects nearly every structural pillar of society.
So it begs the question, who is the actual man behind this persona?
Exactly. Is this just an exaggerated character he plays for the camera to get attention?
This is where that secondary source, the brief portrait written by his friend Sharkbait, becomes absolutely vital to our understanding.
Because it gives us the behind-the-scenes look.
Right. Sharkbait confirms that there is zero separation between the online persona and the offline reality. Tomcat is exactly the same unfiltered, uncompromising man in his private life as he is on a public broadcast.
This is not an act.
The refusal to conform is woven into his actual DNA.
And, Sharkbait includes one specific observation in that portrait that it stopped me in my tracks.
The self-hatred comment?
Yes. He writes that Tomcat hates himself more than other people hate him.
It's a staggering, raw admission. It completely changes the context of his bravado.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because we have this massive psychological contradiction staring us in the face.
We do.
In the exact same video where Tomcat aggressively and repeatedly declares, "I don't give an F what you think," he turns right around and passionately declares that he loves his audience.
It's such a shift in tone.
It is. He states that his entire podcast exists purely out of love, to guide people, to help them find the right mindset to survive this incredibly difficult world. He even uses the phrase, "It's either one of us or none of us."
Which shows a deep sense of collective solidarity.
Yeah. So what does this all mean? How do we reconcile a guy who claims to care about absolutely nothing with a guy who so desperately wants to save his listeners from a wasted life that he vows to keep broadcasting his truth even if he loses every single subscriber?
What's fascinating here is the profound psychological depth beneath the abrasive surface. When you synthesize these conflicting sources, you realize that Tomcat's refusal to conform isn't born from a place of cold apathy.
It's not just him not caring.
No, it's actually born from a fierce, almost agonizing level of empathy. He looks out at a world full of people who are silently suffering because they're trapped in these fake, highly curated lives, and it genuinely enrages him.
So his aggression, the cursing, the refusal to soften his tone, it's actually a manifestation of care.
It's the ultimate form of tough love. He believes that the polite, sanitized, corporate way of speaking hasn't actually helped anyone. He thinks it's only lulled society into becoming better, more compliant puppets.
So he's trying to wake them up.
Right. He positions himself as a human shock collar. He uses aggressive, abrasive truth-telling as a mechanism to violently shake his listeners awake.
And that self-admitted self-hatred that Sharkbait mentioned.
That might be the very psychological armor that makes his altruistic mission possible.
Think of it like a digital Procrustean bed.
Oh, the Greek myth.
Yeah, in the old myth, Procrustes had this iron bed, and if a traveler didn't fit, he would physically stretch them or chop off their legs to make them fit perfectly.
A brutal metaphor, but it fits perfectly.
Right. Social media algorithms and society at large do the exact same thing to human personality. They chop off your rough edges, your controversial opinions, and your bad days, just to make you fit into an advertiser-friendly box.
And Tomcat is refusing to get in the bed.
Exactly. But how does self-hatred protect him from the consequences of that refusal?
Well, think about it. If you have already torn your own ego down to the studs, if you genuinely hate your own flaws more than anyone else possibly could, you become entirely immune to external criticism.
You can't be hurt by others if you've already hurt yourself worse.
Precisely. What can a hateful comment in a chat room or a demonetization flag actually do to a man who has already inflicted far worse judgment upon himself?
Absolutely nothing.
It's a bizarre but highly effective form of invulnerability. It frees him up to be the villain that polite society thinks he is, all while secretly operating as this gritty, uncompromising altruist.
Because he doesn't care about protecting his own reputation.
Right. He is liberated to care entirely about delivering his message. As he says toward the end of his monologue, at the end of the day, his only goal is to be able to look in the mirror and have a clean conscience, knowing he honestly tried to help people break their strings.
A clean conscience. In a modern world, absolutely obsessed with clean aesthetics and clean brand imaging, he is fiercely prioritizing a clean conscience.
It's a powerful distinction.
It really is. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to turn this directly over to you, listening to us right now.
Time for some self-reflection.
Yeah, you probably aren't going to adopt Tomcat's extreme, expletive-laden approach to your daily routine. Like, you probably shouldn't walk into your office tomorrow and scream your unfiltered thoughts at your boss.
Probably not the best career move.
Definitely not. But the core question he is shouting into the digital void remains incredibly, uncomfortably relevant to all of us. Whose expectations are you currently living your life for?
Such a vital question.
And how much of your authentic self are you actively, consciously editing out
Yeah.
just to remain palatable to people who, honestly, wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow?
It's a heavy, necessary question to ask yourself. And to leave you with a final, perhaps unanswerable paradox to mull over, there's a fleeting detail in the source material that deserves your attention.
Oh, the song.
Yes. Amidst his rant against the corporate machine, Tomcat briefly mentions that he has an upcoming song dropping soon, and the title of that track is Digital Manipulation.
That is a profoundly loaded title for a creator operating on YouTube.
It really is. This raises an important question that builds on everything we've just discussed regarding the mechanisms of online control.
The ultimate paradox.
Right. If true freedom, as Tomcat defines it, means entirely rejecting the sanitized, cookie-cutter programming of society and refusing to be a puppet, can anyone, even a fierce, uncompromising rebel like Tomcat, ever truly achieve true freedom while simultaneously relying on a digital platform that is inherently designed to manipulate, categorize, and algorithmically control its users?
It's wild to think about. Can you effectively dismantle the puppeteer stage while you are still actively standing on it and using its microphone?
It's a tough spot to be in.
Or does the mere act of stepping onto that digital stage automatically attach a string to your back, whether you wanted to or not?
That is definitely a paradox to chew on.
It really is. Think about those invisible strings the next time you log onto a platform or walk into a crowded room. Thank you for joining us on this custom deep dive. We'll catch you next time.